Have you ever wondered what true loyalty really looks like? Because loyalty isn't just a word you throw around. It's a commitment etched into the very soul of a person. It's a rare trait, a priceless gem you won't find in everyone you meet. Loyalty is a choice, a decision made every single day, especially when life gets messy. A truly loyal man doesn't just show up when the skies are clear and the path is smooth. He's there when the storms rage, when the world seems to turn its back, when everyone else walks out. He stands firm when everything else shakes. His love, his friendship, his unwavering dedication aren't dictated by convenience or comfort. They're who he is at his core. A loyal man invests in the people he loves, and not with empty promises or hollow words, but with real, tangible actions. He shows up. He offers patience when you falter, understanding when you break. He gives without keeping score, without expecting anything in return. He listens, truly listens to your fears, your dreams, your doubts. He supports you when you're too weak to stand alone, and he builds you up when you forget who you are. His loyalty isn't a mask he wears to manipulate or to gain favor. It's the bedrock of his character, the foundation on which he stands. You see, when a loyal man chooses you, whether as a friend, a partner, or even a colleague, he's all in. There's no hesitation, no second-guessing, no half-hearted effort. He believes in you with a fierce devotion, sometimes even more than you believe in yourself. But here's the thing about loyalty that many people never understand. Loyalty isn't blind. It isn't foolishness in disguise. People often mistake a loyal man's kindness for weakness, his patience for naivety. They think he doesn't notice the little betrayals, the eye rolls, the dismissive words, the moments when he's overlooked or taken for granted. Oh, he sees it all. He notices every crack, every careless slight, every time he's left waiting or hurt. But he chooses to rise above it. He chooses forgiveness. He chooses to give second chances to hope that the people he loves will choose better the next time. That's what makes him different. A loyal man doesn't walk away at the first sign of hardship because he knows too well what it feels like to be left behind. He knows the pain of being the one holding everything together when everyone else lets go. But let me tell you something you need to know. Something most people miss: his loyalty isn't endless. It isn't unconditional. It's not a blank check to mistreat him, to ignore his needs, to use him as a convenience. Yet so many people make that fatal mistake. They assume he'll always be there, always forgiving, always ready to catch them when they fall. They take his patience for granted, convinced that no matter how many times they hurt him, he'll come back with open arms. Until one day, he doesn't. Because something shifts inside a loyal man when you hurt him enough times. It's not rage, not at first. It's a quiet, devastating disappointment. And if you've ever looked into the eyes of a loyal man who once believed in you but can no longer trust you, you'll know that disappointment cuts deeper than any angry words ever could. When he gave you his loyalty, he gave you a piece of himself. He believed you were different. He trusted you with the most fragile parts of his heart. And when that trust shatters, something in him changes forever. Here's what most people don't realize. A loyal man doesn't seek revenge. He doesn't waste his energy plotting ways to get even. He doesn't scream or cause a scene. He simply withdraws, silently, powerfully. He stops fighting for a place in your life. He stops trying to prove his worth or justify his presence. He doesn't beg or plead. He just lets go. And when he lets go, there is no coming back. Because for him, loyalty is sacred. It's a privilege, not a right. And once you show him that you don't value it, he won't force it on you. He won't try to remind you of what you lost. He'll simply walk away carrying the lessons he learned, but leaving behind the version of himself that once believed in you. That's the hardest part, isn't it? Because when a loyal man finally turns his back, It's not out of hatred, it's out of self-respect. His silence speaks louder than any words ever could. His absence echoes with all the love, all the faith, all the hope he once poured into you. And you're left realizing that loyalty once broken can't simply be glued back together. The space he leaves behind is filled with memories of what could have been, what should have been, and what will never be again. And so, if you find yourself blessed enough to be loved by a loyal man, cherish him. See his patience as a gift, not an excuse to keep pushing boundaries. Honor his heart by treating his loyalty with the reverence it deserves. Because once he's gone, you'll understand that the silence of a loyal man speaks volumes, and you'll never hear anything quite like it again. When you break the heart of a loyal man, you don't just cause him pain, you shake the very foundation of everything he once believed in. You see, a loyal man doesn't care casually on the surface, or only when it's convenient. He cares with everything he has, with his whole heart, his whole mind, his entire soul. He doesn't ration his love or calculate what he's getting in return. He gives freely without hesitation, because that's who he is at his core. And that's exactly why when betrayal comes, it cuts him deeper than most people could ever begin to understand. Most men walk through life with their guard up, always keeping a safe distance from emotional risks. They hide behind walls, protecting themselves from disappointment and heartbreak. But a loyal man, he's different. He doesn't just let you into his world. He builds a place for you inside it, brick by brick, with trust and devotion. He trusts you not because he's naive or foolish, but because he chooses to believe in the goodness of the people he loves. He makes a conscious decision every day to stand by those he cares about. He puts his faith in them. He lifts them up when they fall. He defends them when no one else will. That's why when that trust is broken, it doesn't just hurt, it changes him. The pain of betrayal for a loyal man isn't only about what happened. It's about what it represents. It tells him in one crushing moment that the time he invested, the sacrifices he made, the love he poured out, it all meant nothing to the person who hurt him. That realization is what keeps him awake at night. It's what replays in his mind over and over again, like a wound that refuses to close, a cut that keeps bleeding long after the initial pain. He starts questioning everything, not just the person who betrayed him, but himself. Did he misjudge them? Was he too blind, too trusting, too foolish to see what was coming? Those questions swirl in his mind like a storm. And they don't just cause pain, they shake his entire sense of reality. Because when a loyal man is hurt, he doesn't simply lose faith in one person. He begins to doubt everything. He wonders if loyalty itself even matters anymore, if it's worth giving, if anyone else would ever value it the way he did. And that's where the real damage happens, not in the dramatic moment of betrayal, but in the slow, painful unraveling of his belief in people. Here's where so many people get it completely wrong. They think that because he doesn't explode in anger, because he doesn't lash out or seek revenge, that he must be fine. They assume that his silence means he's already moved on, that what they did didn't affect him nearly as much as they feared. But what they don't understand is that the deepest wounds don't bleed on the outside. A loyal man doesn't always show his pain. He carries it in silence, hiding it behind a strong face. Behind the same quiet steadiness he's always shown the world. But inside, he's at war with himself, wrestling with disappointment and disillusionment that no one else can see. And here's the heartbreaking truth: he will never be the same again. Oh, he'll keep going. He'll still show up. He'll still laugh at jokes, still do what needs to be done. But something fundamental in him shifts. The trust that once came so naturally is gone. The openness that allowed him to give so freely is guarded now, hidden behind walls he never wanted to build. He learns to be more cautious, more reserved, to hold back in places where he once poured himself out without fear. And it's not because he wants to become this way, it's because life and betrayal have forced him to adapt. The saddest part, he will rarely, if ever, explain this to anyone. He won't sit down and say how deeply he's changed, how different he feels, how much more distant he's become. He'll carry that weight quietly alone. And those who never truly understood him will look at him and wonder what happened. They'll say, he's different now, never realizing that they're the reason why. They'll never see the scars they left behind, or the fortress he's built around his heart to protect himself from ever being hurt that deeply again. So, the next time you wonder what happens when you hurt a loyal man, remember this. It's not just a temporary wound. It's a permanent shift in his soul, a lesson he never wanted to learn but will never forget. Once that trust is broken, once that belief in you is shattered, there's no going back. There's no fixing what's already been rewritten in his heart. Trust is the foundation of everything. It's the invisible thread that binds relationships together, the unspoken promise that says, I believe in you, and you believe in me. When a loyal man gives you his trust, he's offering you the most precious part of himself. And when you betray it, you don't just break his heart. You fracture the very framework of how he sees the world. When a loyal man gives you his trust, he's not just offering a shallow surface-level connection. He's handing you something sacred, something he doesn't give lightly or to just anyone. That's exactly why, when that trust is broken, it's almost impossible to piece it back together. Most people think trust is like a door. You can swing open and shut loose and regain as you please. But that's not how it works for a loyal man. For him, trust isn't just a word. It's the very foundation on which he builds his life and relationships. He doesn't trust easily, not because he's cold, but because he treasures trust too much to waste it on those who won't value it. So when he chooses to trust you, it means something powerful. It's not handed over casually, it's earned through your actions, your honesty, your consistency. And when you earn the trust of a loyal man, you've been given something rare, something deeply precious. But the thing about rare treasures is that once they're broken, they don't simply go back to how they were. You can't just say, I'm sorry, and expect everything to feel the same again. A loyal man doesn't just listen to your words, he watches your actions. He notices the patterns, the choices you make when you think no one is watching. He sees whether your apologies are backed up by real change or empty promises. And although he doesn't hold grudges or plot revenge, he never forgets the sting of being let down by someone he believed in. Here's what most people don't understand. Once you break a loyal man's trust, something inside him shifts. It doesn't explode like a sudden storm. It doesn't come with loud accusations or dramatic outbursts. Instead, it's quieter, deeper, almost invisible to the untrained eye. He begins to pull back, to withdraw. He starts seeing you differently, not just as the person he once knew, but as someone capable of hurting him in ways he never imagined. And that realization changes everything. You might still hear his voice. You might still see his familiar smile. But if you look closely, you'll notice something missing. That warmth, that certainty, that unwavering belief he once had in you, it's not there anymore. In its place, you'll find caution, distance, a quiet hesitation that didn't exist before. Because now he's learned a painful lesson: not everyone values trust the way he does. A loyal man will give chances, he'll try to understand, try to see the good in you, try to rebuild what was lost. But he will never trust the same way again. That innocence, that pure belief in your intentions, that open-hearted faith, it doesn't return once it's been shattered. Even if he forgives you, even if he moves forward with you, there will always be a part of him that remembers. Because once someone shows him what they're capable of, he knows better than to pretend it never happened. And here's where so many people make the biggest mistake. They assume that because he's still there, still talking, still showing up, everything must be fine. They think time has healed it all. But the truth is, the connection isn't the same. The bond has been altered forever. No matter how much time passes, it will never again be as unbreakable as it once was. You see, a loyal man doesn't just give up on people, but he does learn. And once he's learned that someone can betray his trust, he will never see them the same way again, not out of bitterness, not out of vengeance, but because he now understands the price of misplaced loyalty. He realizes not everyone deserves the kind of trust he once gave so freely. So when people start to wonder why he's changed, why he's more reserved, why his eyes don't light up the way they used to, why his once open heart seems guarded, they don't realize the answer isn't in what he's become. It's in what he's been through, because when you hurt a loyal man, you don't just break his trust, you change his entire view of the world. And once that view is altered, there's no going back. Pain doesn't just wound. It reshapes it, teaches lessons no one ever asked to learn, and it forces a loyal man to see life through a lens he never wanted to use. As he moves through life, a loyal man doesn't just feel the sting of betrayal. He internalizes, it analyzes every detail, and in time he transforms because of it. You see, a loyal man doesn't enter relationships, friendships, or commitments with half his heart. When he's in, he's all in. He believes in people with a sincerity that's rare in this world. He gives them the benefit of the doubt, stands by them even when they don't deserve it, and carries their burdens without a single complaint. He gives without keeping score, and he stays steady when everything around him is uncertain or chaotic. He doesn't just offer loyalty, he embodies it. Loyalty isn't something he does, it's who he is. That's why when he's hurt, it doesn't just wound him for a moment. It shifts something deep inside him forever. At first, he spirals into questions not only about the person who hurt him, but about himself. How did he miss the signs? How did he not see it coming? How could he have trusted so blindly, given so much of himself without hesitation? He replays every conversation, every gesture, every moment that now feels like a warning he failed to notice. He wants to understand, not because he's weak, but because he never imagined someone he gave his loyalty to could discard it so carelessly. And then, slowly but surely, a shift begins. He starts to see the world through new eyes, eyes that have been opened by pain. He realizes loyalty is rare, not because people are incapable of it, but because most don't truly value it the way he does. He begins to see that many only understand commitment when it's convenient for them, and that some will exploit a steady heart, assuming it will always be there to catch them when they fall. That's when his transformation takes root. He stops feeling the need to explain why he loved so deeply, why he cared so fiercely, why he gave without hesitation. He stops justifying his loyalty as if it were a flaw to be corrected rather than the strength it truly is. He learns the hardest lesson of all: not everyone deserves access. Access to his kindness, his patience, his time, or his unwavering support. And that lesson changes him in a way nothing else could. He becomes more discerning, more selective about where he pours his heart. He listens more, but speaks less. He observes carefully before placing his trust. He no longer assumes that because he would never betray someone, they would never betray him. And it's not because he's become cold or unfeeling. It's because he's become wise. He carries himself differently, not with bitterness, but with quiet understanding. He knows now deep in his bones that not everyone is built with the same loyalty he was born with, and that's a truth he had to learn the hard way. People will notice the change. They'll whisper that he's different, that he's not as open, not as trusting, not as readily available as he once was. But what they fail to see is that this isn't a choice he made lightly. It's a response to the lessons life forced upon him. It's the natural consequence of giving his loyalty to the wrong hands, of believing too much in people who didn't value what he offered. Yet here's the most important part. He doesn't let that pain turn into bitterness. He doesn't seek revenge or cling to resentment like a shield. He simply learns, grows, and evolves. He moves forward carrying his scars like reminders. Reminders of what he will never again allow himself to endure. And that is the true transformation, not that he stops caring, but that he starts caring more wisely. Not that he stops loving, but that he becomes more careful with whom he shares that love. When you look at him after he's been hurt, you won't see rage or hatred. Instead, you'll see quiet strength. You'll see a man who has walked through the fire and come out the other side wiser, stronger, and more aware of the world around him. And once he reaches that point, once he has rebuilt himself from the ashes of his pain, there is no returning to who he used to be. There is only the man he has become, the man who will never again allow himself to be broken the same way twice. A loyal man doesn't believe in revenge, not because he's incapable of it, but because he knows it's not worth the cost. He understands that the moment he allows bitterness to take root in his heart, he loses a part of himself he can never reclaim. And if there's one thing he's learned, it's that holding on to pain only gives more power to the one who caused it. So instead of wasting his precious energy plotting ways to get even, he focuses on something far more powerful: growth. Because most people expect a man who's been hurt to lash out, to come back swinging, to make sure the other person feels the same agony they inflicted. They expect rage, destruction, chaos. But a loyal man, he's different. He knows the best response isn't destruction, it's elevation. The best revenge isn't hurting someone back. It's proving through your strength and resilience that they never had the power to break you in the first place. When a loyal man is wounded, he doesn't let that pain consume him. He transforms it into fuel. He doesn't waste his energy plotting revenge or trying to prove himself to those who failed to appreciate him. Instead, he learns from the hurt, grows stronger because of it, and sharpens himself in ways he never would have if he hadn't been betrayed. He chooses to become better, not for them, not for validation, or to prove a point, but for himself. Because deep down, he knows the moment he allows someone else's betrayal to define him, they win. And a loyal man will never lose himself over people who were never worthy of him to begin with. He distances himself, but not out of spite or to punish anyone. He steps back as an act of self-respect, a quiet declaration that he values his own peace more than pointless battles. He understands something most people never do, that some wars aren't worth fighting, some hearts aren't worth chasing, and some situations simply aren't worth revisiting. He realizes that peace isn't found in revenge, in angry words, or in desperate explanations. It's found in letting go, in moving forward without dragging the weight of what tried to break him. That kind of wisdom, it's rare. Most people spend their energy plotting how to hurt back, obsessed with showing the world how wronged they were. But a loyal man has nothing to prove. He doesn't need to shout his pain from the rooftops. He doesn't need to chase after closure that will never come. He doesn't need to beg for explanations from people who don't deserve his questions. Instead, he lets his absence speak volumes. He lets his quiet growth, his unwavering dedication to becoming better, do the talking. While others waste precious time trying to glue together connections that were already cracked beyond repair, he's already building something new, something stronger, something unshakable. He focuses his energy on himself, on the life he wants to build, on the dreams he refuses to abandon. And here's what most people don't realize: walking away isn't weakness, it's strength. It takes far more courage to leave a toxic situation with quiet dignity than it does to stay and keep fighting a battle that can never be won. It takes more wisdom to move forward in silence than to keep throwing yourself into a cycle of hurt. It takes true strength to protect your peace even when every part of you wants to demand answers that will never come. That's what sets a loyal man apart. He understands the priceless value of his energy, his time, and his peace. And he refuses to waste it on people or situations that don't align with the man he's becoming. So when you see him after he's been hurt, don't look for bitterness or rage in his eyes. You won't find a man weighed down by regret or anger. You'll see someone who used his pain to rise even higher, someone who didn't allow betrayal to define him, but instead let it refine him. You'll see a man who is stronger, wiser, and far more selective about who he allows into his inner world. Because once he reaches that point, once he's rebuilt himself from the inside out, there is no going back. There's only forward, only growth, only a version of himself that no betrayal could ever destroy. A loyal man doesn't stay broken forever. He doesn't spend his life drowning in the hurt others caused him. He doesn't let the weight of disappointment hold him down or keep him from becoming the person he's meant to be. No, he rebuilds himself. He gathers every lesson, every scar, every tear, and he weaves them into armor. He uses the betrayal, the heartbreak, the moments that tried to shatter him as stepping stones to climb even higher. Of course, at first, it's not easy. When trust is shattered, when loyalty is answered with betrayal, there's always a moment when everything feels unsteady. He wonders if he'll ever trust again. He questions whether loyalty is still worth giving, whether anyone else would ever value it the way he does. Doubt creeps in, whispering that maybe he was the fool for believing in people who never deserved him. After all the doubts, questions, and silent nights spent wondering if loyalty is still worth it, a loyal man finds his strength not in forgetting the pain, but in transforming through it. He wonders if he'll ever be able to believe in people the way he once did. He questions whether his heart will ever feel the same warmth, whether the hope he used to carry so easily will ever return. He wrestles with the memories of betrayal, with the voice inside him whispering to shut down, to never trust or care again. But deep down, he knows that isn't who he is. He knows that no matter how much he's been hurt, he won't let pain turn him into someone cold and unrecognizable. He refuses to let someone else's actions change the goodness at his core. So he begins the slow, deliberate process of rebuilding, but this time he does it differently. He no longer hands out his loyalty like it's an endless resource to be used up by anyone who asks. He no longer assumes that just because he would never betray someone, others will always offer him the same respect. He moves through the world with a new kind of wisdom, now guided by discernment rather than blind faith. He still has a good heart, but now it's wrapped in armor. He still trusts, but he watches more carefully. He still gives, but only to those who have truly proven themselves worthy of the gift of his loyalty. And that right there is the beauty of a loyal man. He doesn't let betrayal destroy him. He lets it refine him. He learns from the past without letting it define his future. He doesn't become bitter. He becomes better. He doesn't hold grudges that poison his spirit. He raises his standards to protect his peace. He stops wasting time on people who can't or won't value him, because he understands now, perhaps for the first time, that his energy, his love, his loyalty, they are rare gifts. Gifts that should never be taken for granted. He moves forward not with anger clouding his vision, but with a newfound clarity sharpening every step. He knows what he will accept and what he will never tolerate again. He knows what real loyalty looks like and what it doesn't. He no longer begs for people to recognize his worth because he's seen it himself. He's felt it in his bones, in the quiet moments when he realized that his loyalty is a strength, not a flaw. And that quiet confidence, that unshakable self-respect, is what truly sets him apart. People around him will notice the change. They'll sense he's different. that he's no longer as easily available or as willing to stretch himself thin for everyone. They'll see how he's more selective with his time, his energy, his heart. Some will be inspired by his growth. Others will feel threatened, upset that they can no longer take advantage of the man who once gave so freely. But that doesn't matter to him anymore, because he's not the same man he once was. He's grown. He's evolved. He's become someone stronger, someone wiser, someone who knows the priceless value of what he offers. And once a loyal man reaches this level of self-awareness, there's no turning back. Because a loyal man may be hurt, he may be betrayed, and yes, he may even lose faith for a moment, but in the end, he always rises. And when he does, he emerges stronger than ever before. A loyal man is not easily broken, but once he has been betrayed, he is never the same. He gives his trust wholeheartedly, stands by those he loves with unwavering devotion, and believes in the best of people until he's given a reason not to. And when that trust is shattered, he doesn't waste his soul chasing revenge or demanding explanations that will never bring him peace. He simply learns. He grows. He changes. He becomes wiser, more discerning, more protective of the loyalty he once offered so freely. But the most powerful thing about a loyal man, he refuses to let pain define him. He rebuilds himself not with bitterness, but with strength. He moves forward not with anger, but with purpose. He may lose his innocence, but he gains a clarity that shapes him into someone even greater than he was before. And when he rises from the ashes of his hurt, he is not weaker, he is unshakable. Because, in the end, that is his greatest transformation, not that he loved and lost, but that he learned to love himself enough to never let betrayal break him again.